like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right, so anyone who's even remotely into football knows that Crystal Palace and Chelsea match was a wild one.
Definitely a match with some twists and turns.
Yeah, and we're going to break it all down for you.
Yeah.
Using the Standards Live blog as our guide for this deep dive. So
Sounds good.
basically, the listener wants to know, like, what happened, what were the big moments, but also, what does it mean for both teams?
Okay, so big picture first. Chelsea walked in looking like the favorites, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But that's the thing about football.
Anything can happen.
Exactly. You never know what's going to go down.
And in the beginning, I mean, if you just looked at that first half, Chelsea had it.
They did. They had possession. But
They were controlling everything.
yeah, but here's the thing. You can control the game
Right.
and still not get the result.
Yeah, it's about finishing, right? Like, they had chances.
They did. They had some good looks at goals,
Yeah.
especially from guys like Nicholas Jackson and Josh and Chimpong.
Yeah, those were some big misses. I mean, what did you think when you saw those chances? Like, what went wrong?
Well, sometimes it's just one of those days, right? Players have an off day. But when I rewinded it and watched it again, a couple of those chances came from like slightly off passes,
Oh, interesting.
forcing the attackers into tough spots.
Yeah.
Sure, it made me think, yeah, Chelsea was dominating.
Yeah.
But those little details, those passes in the final third, those weren't quite there.
So it's like they were almost there, but that tiny gap
Yeah, the little gap.
made all the difference.
It did. It really did. And that's where I think Palace started to turn things around.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a huge tactical shift or anything, more like they smelled blood in the water. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They sensed that Chelsea wasn't invincible. They started winning those 50-50 balls, pressing higher up the pitch, and suddenly the crowd at Selhurst Park was a factor again.
Oh, I bet. The Standard really brings that atmosphere to life. I mean, you can almost hear the crowd roaring as you're reading.
Totally. That home crowd energy, it was like fuel for Palace.
Yeah.
And right around then, that's when Ebreki Eze started cooking. He was weaving through Chelsea's midfield.
Amazing.
The Standard nailed it with their description. He wasn't just making passes, he was creating chaos. You know what I mean?
Causing trouble.
Exactly. Chelsea's players started second-guessing themselves.
And then the turning point, Cole Palmer, the guy who scored that opening goal for Chelsea, loses the ball.
Yeah, he a howler.
And Palace, boom, they capitalized like instantly.
That was huge. Not just because of the goal. It's because it kind of showed you what was going on in both teams' heads.
Oh, yeah.
Chelsea, maybe a little complacent. After all that early dominance, they got punished for a silly mistake.
And Palace, they were hungry, man. Ready to pounce.
And you could tell, right, because Jean-Philippe Mateta scores that equalizer. And suddenly, it feels like the entire game's shifted.
Yeah, the momentum, all Palace.
All Palace.
Yeah.
And the way the Standard puts it is perfect. They quote Malik Uzia's match report. And it says, to say that has been coming would be an understatement. It's a carbon copy of the game at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea made to pay for missing a hatful of chances. Perfect summary. Couldn't have said it better myself. So the final score, 1-1, looks even on paper, but
dig a little deeper.
there's a lot more to it.
Oh, yeah, for Chelsea, this isn't just a draw. You know what I mean? The Standard makes a point of saying it's their fourth match without a win.
Oof, that's got to sting. Especially for a club like Chelsea, with their expectations,
Definitely raises some questions.
It does. Is it their tactics? The players not gelling? Maybe they're mentally checking out a bit?
Yeah.
Because the talent, they've got it.
Oh, yeah, it's there.
But something's not clicking. And look, a draw against a team like Palace, not the end of the world, but it's the trend, the bigger picture that's worrying.
The context, exactly.
But for Palace, man, this draw must feel amazing.
Oh, yeah.
They were the underdogs coming in, and they fought hard, seized their chance, earned that point.
It's huge for their confidence. Shows they can hang with the big boys, And to take a point off Chelsea at home, that's a morale boost right there. Could be a real turning point for their season. Absolutely. So the question is, what's next? Will Chelsea break out of this slump? Can Palace keep riding this wave?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, the answers. They could shake up the whole Premier League.
No doubt about it. All right, so as we keep digging into the Standards Live blog, one thing that really jumps out is how they describe that first half, You can practically feel the tension building as Chelsea keeps pushing for a goal.
Yeah, it's interesting because it wasn't like their attack was predictable, really.
What do you mean?
Well, they were using a lot of width, trying to stretch Palace's defense, but there was this pattern.
Oh, okay.
A lot of their attacks went through Jadon Sancho on that right side. He's a beast, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it was like Palace figured out, okay, if we can contain Sancho, we can kind of shut down a big chunk of what Chelsea's trying to do. And towards the end of the first half, that's kind of what happened.
So Chelsea's dominance wasn't as solid as it looked.
Exactly. They looked good, but there were these little cracks, And Palace, got to give them credit, they saw those cracks.
They sure did.
And they went after them. Palace's manager definitely made some adjustments at halftime.
Yeah.
Because they came out in that second half looking like a different team.
More energy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a plan for Chelsea, especially on defense.
The Standard talks about how Palace started pressing Chelsea's midfielders way more aggressively.
Yeah. Forcing them into making quick passes, risky passes.
So Chelsea's players couldn't just chill and control the game anymore.
Nope. Palace took away that comfort zone.
And that's where a player like Ebereki Eze shines, The Standard keeps pointing out how calm he was under pressure, even when Chelsea was all over him.
He's the real deal, man.
He was finding the open man, dribbling past defenders, even drawing fouls when he needed to.
Eze was the game changer for Palace. He controlled the pace, created chances, and he can do it all.
So versatile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Passing, dribbling, holding the ball up, the whole package.
Okay, so then we get to that moment where Cole Palmer loses the ball
right
before Palace scores.
Yeah, tough break for him.
The Standard calls it a moment of madness. But was it really just Palmer messing up? Or was there something else going on?
Well, look, players make mistakes. It happens. But a lot of times, there's a reason, and in this case, I think Palmer's mistake happened because of all that pressure Palace was putting on.
Right.
They were making Chelsea play faster, take more risks, and eventually one of those risks backfires.
So it's not that Palmer had a bad game, it's more that Palace forced that error.
Exactly. They disrupted Chelsea's flow.
Yeah.
Got them playing on their heels, and that's how they got that chance, that equalizer.
I can only imagine what Selhurst Park sounded like after that goal went in.
Dude, the Standard said it was a deafening roar.
Yeah.
Got to be one of the best feelings in the world.
As a player, for sure.
Scoring a goal like that in front of your home crowd against a team like Chelsea, that's what football's all about.
Pure magic. And the Standard has some great descriptions about Jean-Philippe Mateta's celebration, too.
Oh, yeah.
They said he was running wild with joy.
No.
Like you can feel the emotion through the words,
And that's what makes football so special, right? It's more than just tactics. It's those moments, that passion.
Totally. So we've talked about the tactics, the big moments, but before we wrap up this part, what about the mental side of things? How do you think this draw affects both teams going forward?
That's a great question. And it's something we don't talk about enough. For Chelsea, this got to be tough. 4 matches without a win, that pressure starts to build.
Yeah, you can feel
They
it.
got to figure out how to snap out of it, or it could really snowball.
And Palace.
Dude, this could be huge for them. They went toe-to-toe with Chelsea, took a point at home.
Yeah.
It's a confidence booster, for sure. And it could give them the momentum they need to climb the table.
So we got Chelsea maybe doubling themselves and Palace feeling like they can beat anyone.
That's the story right now. And it's going to be wild to see what happens next.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the Chelsea-Crystal Palace match, it's really kind of hit me how much the mental game matters in football.
Yeah, we can analyze the tactics all we want. But sometimes it comes down to who wants it more, who can handle the pressure.
In this match, it was like a textbook example. Chelsea had the early control, but as soon as Palace started pushing back,
They kind of lost their cool.
it was almost like you could see their confidence just disappearing.
And Palace, on the other hand, you could feel their belief growing with every minute, especially after that equalizer. The Standard talks about how energized they were, how that one goal shifted everything.
Crazy, right? How one moment can have such a huge impact, not just on the score, but on the whole vibe of the match.
Totally. It's like a complete 180. Suddenly, the underdog's in charge, and the team that was dominating, they're scrambling.
The Standard even mentions how Chelsea's manager looked totally frustrated on the sideline.
Yeah, I bet he was trying to figure out how to stop the bleeding, get his team back on track.
But sometimes it's not that easy.
Nope. Football's a mental game, man. And in this match, Palace won that battle.
So what's the big takeaway here? What should our listener remember about this match?
I think it's all about resilience. Palace could have given up after that first half when Chelsea was all over them.
Right.
But they didn't. They adapted, they kept fighting, and they turned the whole game around.
And Chelsea, they kind of struggled to adapt when things change.
It happens. It's a good reminder that in football, nothing goes exactly as planned.
Right.
The teams that can roll with the punches, adjust to the situation, and keep believing, those are the teams that come out on top.
That's a great point. Well, this Crystal Palace-Chelsea match had it all. Big moments, tactical battles, and a whole lot of drama.
Absolutely.
We broke down the highlights, dug into the turn-in points, and even explored the mental side of the game.
Hope our listener enjoyed this deep dive.
And that they learned a thing or two about the beautiful game. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the world of football.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till